Discover how a poor girl's blind date turned life-changing when the single dad CEO revealed his heart. Maya had always believed that life could surprise her, but nothing prepared her for the day her phone buzzed with the words, "You're going on a blind date." Her best friend, Lisa, had impulsively signed her up. The thought made her heart race and her palms sweat. After years of balancing plates as a waitress at the local diner, taking care of her younger brother and working alongside her single mother, a blind date felt both thrilling and completely alien. But as she looked in the mirror, her breath hitched. What would David, a man she didn't even know, think of her, a girl from the diner, struggling to make ends meet? When she stepped into the cafe that day, the air was thick with the aroma of fresh coffee and baked pastries. David was already there, sitting at a small table, wearing a blazer that screamed confidence. His eyes sparkled with hints of warmth, but his presence also radiated a mystery that made her stomach twist. As she approached, he smiled, and for a moment, the weight of her world evaporated. Their conversation danced between laughter and honest stories. Maya found herself entranced as David spoke of his past, the darkness of struggling through college, the late nights spent hustling to support his dreams. She shared her life, how each shift at the diner felt like juggling fire, but she wouldn't have it any other way. She could feel the connection budding between them, and hope began to bloom in her heart, igniting thoughts of what could be. But then he casually mentioned his job as a CEO, an ache settled in her chest. Reality crashed in waves, drowning her in insecurities. How could someone like him ever see someone like her as a match? The doubts throbbed like a pulsing ache. What would he think of my meager life? Could I really fit into his world? Before they could delve deeper, reality tugged at them. Maya's mother, concerned, warned her of the dangers of jumping into something with someone so different. David faced disapproval from peers in his upscale social circle who would never accept someone from her background. Tension clouded the budding relationship like a storm overhead, leaving them to question everything. Then, unexpected chaos erupted as David's ex-wife resurfaced, stirring a slew of emotions within Maya. Each incredulous headline screamed "perfect woman lost," reminding her of every rejection she had ever faced. The shadows of David's past loomed larger, suffocating her dreams of a future woven together with love and respect. They met up again, and Maya fought for clarity around her swirling thoughts. Could an unwavering bond withstand the complicated layers of their lives? Just as painful memories glimmered in a haze of uncertainty, she felt an overwhelming surge of love pushing her to confront their fears. Is love enough? She whispered to herself even as they began to connect deeper. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Maya decided she couldn't let fears dictate her heart. The community around them began to whisper about the couple, and a surprising outpouring of collective support emerged. Friends and neighbors rallied to remind her that love transcended societal barriers, illuminating the path ahead. As Maya and David stood on the precipice of their new chapter, doubt still nagged at the edges of their happiness, unanswered questions looming large in the air. Could they truly overcome the judgments of their families? Would the weight of their pasts bind them together or tear them apart? As the days turned into weeks, Maya felt her heart dance in rhythm with each new moment shared with David. Each coffee date turned into a late-night conversation, filled with laughter and heartfelt confessions. They were unraveling their lives together like layers of an onion, revealing dreams, fears, and desires. It was beautiful, yet the shadows of doubt still loomed overhead. One chilly evening, they strolled through the park, where the trees were draped in strands of fairy lights, twinkling like stars. Maya laughed as a leaf fell from a branch, landing perfectly atop David's head. He chuckled, swatting it away playfully. In moments like these, the weight of their reality felt lighter. But as they sat on a bench, the warmth of connection felt sudden and fragile. Do you ever think about where we're headed? David asked, a serious glimmer in his eyes. The question sent a thread of anxiety weaving through Maya's chest. What was she supposed to say? She could almost hear the echoes of her mother's warnings, reminding her of the vast gulf between their worlds. I hope for the best, she forced a smile, trying to mask the tremor in her voice that he studied her, his brow furrowed, before leaning closer. You mean that, don't you? Yes, sometimes I wonder. I feel like you're living in a world I don't belong to. As soon as the words slipped out, her heart raced. The truth had never stung so sweetly. David reached for her hand. Maya, I've never felt this way about anyone before. You make me want to break down those walls. His boldness took her breath away, but a flickering fear dimmed her hope. But what happens when reality hits? When your world collides with mine? I don't want to shatter what we have. A moment of silence stretched between them, the air thick with unspoken concerns. David dropped his gaze momentarily, and it felt like a chasm opened up. I've been thinking about that too, he admitted, tapping his fingers nervously against the bench. My ex-wife, she has a way of coming back to haunt me. The media loves a story, and I'm sure they want to let go. Maya swallowed hard, heart pounding. So, what's the plan? We're fighting against a tidal wave, David. He squeezed her hand, a lifeline in the restless ocean of uncertainty. Maybe the fight itself is what's worth it. But I want you to be prepared. People will talk. They'll judge. Can you handle that? Can we handle that? As fear knotted deep in her stomach, visions of their friends whispering, her own mother's disapproving gaze stormed through her mind. I want to try, she whispered, though her voice quivered with doubt. Just then, across the park, a group of kids burst into laughter, their carefree spirits breaking through the tension. Maya could feel David's eyes on her, searching for reassurance. She took a deep breath, allowing an acceptance to wash over her. I need to know you're certain about us, she finally said, her heart a fragile flame. What we are, where we're going. He smiled gently, but the seriousness in his eyes anchored her. Then let us face it together. I'll fight for you. I'll break all those walls down if it means creating a space that's ours. In that moment, Maya understood the depth of what love could demand and how it could ignite courage. Maybe they could carve out a place where doubts faded in the light of unconditional support. But as she looked deep into his eyes, questions bubbled up anew, leaving her with unease. Are we enough? She asked quietly, feeling the weight of not just their insecurities, but the world outside their bubble, judging. Before David could respond, a loud shout rang out nearby, interrupting their intimate moment. The local newspaper was wrapping up interviews in the park, and, to her horror, one of the reporters pointed in their direction. The moment felt electric, crackling with the potential of everything changing. Maya's heart raced. Could their beautiful, emerging love withstand the scrutiny that lay ahead? The question flared in her mind as she prepared to face the world together, but at that moment, a different kind of fear gripped her, one that made her wonder if the echoes from their pasts would drown out the symphony of their love. Maya's breath caught as she watched the reporter's camera turn toward them. The warm glow of the park now felt suffocating, shadows creeping in on the edges of her joy. She instinctively pulled her hand from David's, trying to shield herself from the sudden exposure. Her heart raced, spiraling into anxiety. David, she whispered, her mind racing. What if they? But David was already rising, his gaze unwavering. He seemed to simplify the chaos around them. Hey, it's okay. Let us just be ourselves. Maya's stomach twisted. Just be ourselves. She echoed, the thought feeling impossible. She felt like they were being thrust into the spotlight, vulnerable in a way that made her skin crawl. The last thing she wanted was for their story to be dissected, analyzed, and criticized by strangers. His hand found her shoulder, steadying her. Remember, we're in this together. I mean it. The warmth of his touch brought a rush of reassurance, but was it enough to shield them from the world? She hesitated, glancing toward the group of reporters who began closing the distance. The air hummed with opportunity and danger, and for a moment, she couldn't decide which was louder. When the reporter approached, clipboard in hand and notebook out, Maya felt a flush of heat flood her cheeks. He grinned, his eyes gleaming with the excitement of an unfolding story. "Excuse me. Are you two part of this evening's events?" David turned to face the reporter, holding his ground. "We're just having a private moment." The reporter chuckled, not taking the hint. "But you look like a quintessential love story unfolding right under our noses. Can you confirm who you are?" Maya felt exposed, vulnerable like a fish out of water. She glanced at David, searching for any flicker of discomfort on his face. But he looked unyielding, a fortress amidst the storm. "We're just two people enjoying a night in the park," David said, a hint of challenge in his tone. Maya's heart swelled with admiration. He didn't shy away from the attention, and somehow that grounded her. "Yeah, a simple moment," she added, finding her voice. The reporter raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh really? Is there more to this story than meets the eye?" Maya felt the world tilt. It was a harmless question, but it felt like a plunge into the depths of her fears. Her thoughts spiraled back to her mother's warnings, the whispers of judgment. What are they going to print? She wondered. Then, she saw something shift in David's posture. A sense of determination replaced the uncertainty. "Maybe there is," he said, meeting her gaze with fierce support. "But as of now, this moment belongs to us." The reporter nodded, seeming to take the hint, but Maya felt the weight still pressing down. As he stepped back, she knew that this encounter was just the beginning. They were stepping onto a precarious path, surrounded by strangers' eyes and opinions, ready to pounce. Once the reporter left them, a tense silence hung in the air. Maya turned to David, her heart pounding. "Are you sure we can take this on? All this attention, it seems overwhelming." David's expression softened. "Maya, we're not just here for the fairy tale ending. We're building something real. And yes, it's going to be difficult and messy, but we can navigate through it together." His assurance stirred hope inside her, but doubt clung to the corners of her mind. Could they? As the stars flickered overhead, she felt the enormity of the moment wash over her. They were at a crossroads. "Do you really believe that fighting for this is worth it?" she asked, needing clarity in the whirlwind of emotions. Before David could answer, the wind shifted, sending a cool breeze through the park. It rustled the leaves, perhaps whispering secrets of strength and resilience. Maya shivered, pulling her jacket tighter around her. "Yes," he answered, taking a step closer, his voice a quiet promise. "I believe in us." With those words, the foundation of her hopes felt a little more solid. But as Maya glanced toward the darkening sky, a new question loomed larger: were they ready for the consequences of this love? As they stood together, the shadows lengthening around them, she realized that the real battle wasn't just against the world outside, but deep within their hearts. What would it take to hold on to what they had forged? And more importantly, could this connection withstand the tremors that lay ahead? Maya's thoughts spiraled while she watched the stars blink into life one by one. Each flicker seemed to echo the uncertainty in her chest. Could their bond really survive the scrutiny that would undoubtedly come their way? The questions weighed heavily on her, blurring the beauty of the moment they had fought to claim. David turned, breaking into her thoughts. "Hey, let us go for a walk, okay?" He motioned toward the empty path winding through the park, illuminating the way ahead. He instinctively took her hand, grounding her in his warmth despite the chaos swirling around them. Maya nodded, feeling both nervous and comforted. They stepped forward, sounds of laughter and clinking glasses from nearby picnics slowly fading into the background like distant echoes. With every step, she felt the grip of her worry loosen, if only for a moment. "Do you feel it?" David asked softly. "The energy in the air?" His eyes sparkled, reflecting the stars above. Maya hesitated but then looked around, letting the ambience in. Everything felt alive, the rustle of leaves, the faint chirping of crickets. "It's magical," she admitted, allowing herself to indulge in the moment. "Exactly," he said, a smile spreading across his face. "No matter what happens out there, this moment belongs to us." Something about his conviction lifted the weight on her shoulders. She wanted so desperately to believe him. "Promise me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Promise me we won't let anyone come between us." "I promise," he replied, squeezing her hand. His sincerity wrapped around her like a cozy blanket, and for a brief time, the world outside faded away, but then, as they turned a corner, the flickering lights of their surroundings caught her eye. A small crowd had gathered near a gazebo. Laughter erupted, blending with music from beneath a string of fairy lights. She felt a tug of anxiety. Was this what her life would be like now? Scrutinized, judged, every gesture analyzed. As they approached, a familiar face emerged from the crowd. It was one of Maya's old classmates, Jessica, who had always been the star of every social scene. Her presence sent a wave of dread crashing over Maya. "Look who it is. I didn't know you went for bad boys now, Maya." Jessica's laughter felt harsh in the cool night air, slicing through the warmth of the moment. Maya's face flushed, eyes darting to David. She could see the tightness in his jaw as he squared his shoulders. "We're just enjoying the evening, Jess," she replied, her voice a little shaky. David stepped closer, wrapping an arm around Maya's waist in a protective gesture. "And how about you? Still throwing shade instead of celebrating people's happiness?" Maya held her breath, feeling the surge of vulnerability wash over her. She didn't want to be in this position again, the one where her choices were dragged through the mud of someone else's dissatisfaction. As Jessica laughed, she glanced back at David, who stood firm. In that instant, she recognized something deeply resilient within him, something that mirrored her own resolve. This was a moment of truth. Did they dare confront potential ridicule together? Could they embrace love in the midst of judgment? "Come on, David," she said softly, taking a breath filled with determination. "Let us show them what we have." With each step forward, her heart thudded. She was tired of hiding and afraid no longer. In the shifting glow of the park lights, Maya felt the thrill of what they were beginning to carve out together, all while the possibilities of what lay ahead tightened around her. As the crowd began to notice them, their whispers swirling, Maya could feel a mixture of fear and exhilaration rise within her. Would they accept their story, or would it become another source of gossip? Before she could unravel those thoughts, David leaned down, brushing his lips against her ear. "No matter what happens, I'm not leaving your side." His commitment infused her with courage. But as Maya looked out into the sea of faces, a new question bubbled up: were they prepared to face the storm together when the world inevitably responded? With that, the music swelled, and a sense of anticipation crackled between them, turning the uncertainty into a stage for their unfolding love story. The night was young, but the stakes had never felt higher. What would become of them in the next chapter of this tangled narrative? As David and Maya stepped into the crowd, the laughter and chatter of strangers washed over them like a wave. She could feel the curious eyes assessing them, their glances darting back and forth as they sensed the tension. Maya squeezed David's hand tighter, finding the strength she needed from his presence. It was like he could sense her heart racing. "Just breathe," he murmured, his eyes fixed on her, reassuring her that they were in this together. They approached the gazebo, where the music pulsed with life, thumping in time with Maya's racing heartbeat. People mingled as they enjoyed the late summer night, wrapped in their entitled bubble of bliss. In that moment, she was painfully aware of how different they were. But the pull of the crowd was irresistible. "Let us dance," David suggested, a spark in his eyes that dared her to join him. "What?" Maya blinked in surprise, watching him like he had just suggested they start a karaoke session. "Just for a minute," he said, a teasing grin on his face, coaxing her over the low railing. "Here." Her voice wavered. "In front of all these people?" David's smile only grew wider. "Yes. Right here." Show them we don't care. An unexpected thrill shot through her. What was once anxiety began to morph into something more, a sense of wild freedom she hadn't felt in years. His confidence was infectious. She took a deep breath, letting the music sweep her into the moment. As they stepped onto the makeshift dance floor, the gazes intensified, some intrigued, others skeptical. But the rhythm coursed through her, a rush of adrenaline. David twirled her around, and she let out a laugh, the sound mingling with the music. Spinning under the twinkling lights, her worries began to fade. The world outside ceased to matter. For once, she let her guard down, losing herself in the bliss of the moment, but as they continued to dance, a shadow drifted across her joy. Jessica and her clique stood at the edge of the crowd, smirking and whispering to each other. Maya's heart sank again as their ridicule hung thick in the air. "See? This is exactly what I'm talking about," Jessica called out, her voice carrying over the music. "Dating the town's bad boy is quite the choice, Maya." Laughter erupted from her friends, and Maya felt the heat rush to her cheeks. David stiffened beside her. The carefree freedom shattered like glass around them. But before she could recoil, he held her closer, shielding her from the taunts. "You know what?" he shouted over the music. "We're happy. That's all that matters." Maya felt empowered. It didn't need to feel perfect, it just needed to feel real. She looked up at him, so steadfast, and realized the flame she was nurturing wasn't just for show. It was the very essence of her courage. "Let us not let them bring us down, okay?" she said, her voice firm as the rhythm of their heartbeats synced like an unspoken promise. It was time to reclaim her night. With renewed determination, they moved together to the beat, ignoring the whispers, turning every shake of her body into a story of resilience. But right then, Maya caught sight of a figure approaching from the edge of the gathering. Her heart skipped. It was Alex, her best friend from high school, who had a knack for making tension evaporate. He hadn't been at school during their senior year, but now he looked all grown up, confidence radiating off him. "Hey! What's the deal?" Alex shouted, flashing a grin that lit up the night, clearly undeterred by the tension. Maya's heart warmed. Could this unexpected reunion shift the course of the night as well? But even as excitement bubbled within her, she wondered how much more pressure they could take. Would the presence of a friend dispel the negativity, or would the night spiral into a fight for validation? As David's grip tightened, she steadied herself for whatever was coming next. Because the crowd wasn't just watching anymore, they were ready to judge. And just then, the night shifted yet again, bringing questions rushing to the surface. What new challenge awaited them with Alex's arrival? Would their bubble of happiness remain intact, or were they on the cusp of a much bigger storm? Maya's heart raced as Alex approached, cutting through the air thick with tension. He wore a casual shirt, jeans, and that familiar sparkle in his eye. It reminded her of the summers they'd spent laughing under the sun, the kind of carefree joy that seemed almost unattainable tonight. "Alex!" she exclaimed, her voice sharper than intended, barely masking her surprise. "Wow, it's really you." He grinned widely, stepping closer. His gaze shifted to David, taking him in with what seemed like instant judgment. "So, this is the famous David? The bad boy?" Maya blushed, caught between annoyance and warmth. "He's more than that, Alex. You don't know him like I do." "Oh, I'll take your word for it." Alex smirked, his playful jab lightening the atmosphere a little. "I've just heard the small-town gossip. The bad boy always has a story, right?" "Maya's not falling for just any story," David interjected, shooting a playful yet determined look at Alex. "She knows what she wants." The tension in the air softened, and Maya felt the knot in her stomach loosen. David was standing up for her, affirming who she was with confidence. She watched as Alex nodded slowly, a hint of respect filling his expression. "All right then," Alex said, glancing between them, "let us see this dance off. Show us what you've got." Maya laughed at the suggestion. It flickered in her like a match striking wood. A dance-off? Are you serious? Absolutely. He replied with this infectious energy that seemed to brighten the atmosphere. The crowd was still somewhat watchful, and as if sensing an opportunity for entertainment, they gradually began to shift closer. David, she said uncertainly, what if let us own it? We've got nothing to lose, he replied, now grinning ear to ear, clearly enjoying the idea of shaking off the negativity surrounding them. They nodded at one another, a silent agreement sparking between them. The music was unrelenting, pulsating through the crowd like a living thing. Maya could feel it thrum in her very bones. With a sudden burst of confidence, she pulled David back onto the makeshift dance floor, arms flaring freely and inviting him to join her. As the music shifted into a high-energy beat, they began to move together fluidly. Their bodies twisted and turned in synchrony, laughter spilling from their lips. Each time David pulled her closer, each twirl and dip seemed to blend playful defiance with genuine connection. The crowd cheered, clapping along, even Jessica and her clique fell silent for a moment, their expressions shifting from mockery to something akin to surprise. Maya's spirit soared. She had always worried that fitting in meant sacrificing joy. But with David, in this moment, she found pure happiness pulsing through her veins. Alex cheered them on, diving into the circle to show his own moves, challenging David to keep up while eliciting hearty laughs from the onlookers. David matched Alex's rhythm, and together, the energy of the crowd began to build. But just as Maya was lost in the magic of the moment, an accidental collision drew her eyes to a figure standing at the edge, watching intently. It was Jessica again, arms crossed defiantly, the smirk still plastered on her face but now with an emotion that felt almost like envy. Things hadn't changed, the judgment still lingered, and for a heartbeat, the thrill of dancing faded away. Yet, before negativity could seep in again, David caught her gaze. Forget them. Just keep dancing. He urged, grabbing her hand and spinning her around once more. Maya chuckled, her doubts fading as she surrendered to the music again. Maybe it was the thrill of the crowd, or perhaps the undeniable chemistry swirling around them, but she felt light, as though she could take flight. In that moment, she realized that they could rise above the whispers of the past, together. The dance floor became her sanctuary, encapsulating every fluttering heartbeat, every shared glance. But when the music finally faded and the crowd began to disperse, Maya noticed Alex step toward her with an expression that suddenly turned serious. Maya, he said, his voice lowered, we need to talk. Her heart sank. What could be so urgent now? Would he bring up all the things she'd been trying to escape tonight? As anticipation wrapped around her like a tightening coil, a sense of foreboding settled in. What revelation was about to change everything? Maya took a step back, her palms sweating slightly as she searched Alex's face for any hint of what he wanted to discuss. Did he know about the dance? About the fleeting moments of joy she'd just tasted? Is everything okay? She asked, her voice governed by apprehension. David shifted slightly beside her, his body tense, as if ready to defend her if needed. Yeah, it's just. Alex hesitated, his eyes darting around, avoiding direct contact for just a moment. It's about something I saw earlier today. A knot tightened in Maya's stomach. What do you mean? His expression turned grave, lips pressed together as if weighing his words carefully. You know how rumors can spread. I don't want you to hear it from someone else. Maya felt David's hand brush against hers, a small reassurance. She needed that right now. Just tell me, Alex. Her tone was sharper than she intended, but fear was creeping into her veins. Well, it's about your dad, and that fight he got into last week. Her pulse quickened with each word. Maya's father had been battling his demons for years, but she didn't want to think about it tonight. Not after the dance, not after reclaiming a fragment of her happiness. Why are you bringing this up? She stammered, the vulnerability rising to the surface. Because, he stepped forward, closer to her, I'm worried. I know you care about him, but I hear things. What kinds of things? David interjected, crossing his arms. His protective nature shone through, giving Maya a sense of strength. That he's still hanging out with those guys, the kind who make bad choices. Alex's voice was almost a whisper now. His eyes flashed worry that she couldn't dismiss. Maya felt her heart wrench. She had hoped to protect her father from judgment, wished she could keep that part of her life private. You shouldn't believe everything you hear, she replied tightly. I had to tell you, Alex insisted gently, softer now, I know you're trying to keep things together for him. Let me help. No, Maya. David spoke more sharply. You shouldn't have to deal with this on your own. Maya's throat tightened. The words came tumbling out before she had a chance to stop them. I can handle this. My dad's been through a lot, I just need him to be okay. The air felt thick, each breath hard to take. David looked at her, confusion flickering across his face. She could see the wheels turning in his mind. But what if he can't be okay? Alex asked, his tone almost pleading. You can't pretend everything is fine forever. It's not just about your happiness, it's about his life. Maya recoiled slightly, the weight of his words sinking in. Could she really stand by, ignoring her own sadness for the sake of keeping up appearances? She glanced at David, seeking some comfort, but he was just as lost in thought as she was. I need to think, she murmured, her heart beating loudly in her chest. Did she really have the strength to confront her father about his choices? Would it ruin everything she'd just started to rebuild? The glimmers of happiness felt so fragile, ready to shatter at a moment's notice. As the sounds of the dispersing crowd faded into the background, she felt as though she stood on the edge of an abyss. Would she leap into the unknown, trusting that the landing would be soft and forgiving? Maya, Alex began again, but she held up a hand, silencing him. No. Not tonight. I can't. Let me breathe, she whispered, her eyes casting away from the two of them to the ground as shadows of doubt began to creep back into her heart. They both nodded, understanding her need for space, but the despair was palpable. Even in the chaos of their lives, there was still beauty yet, it stood on the brink of collapse. As she turned away, she felt her phone buzz in her pocket, breaking the silence. Pulling it out, the screen displayed a message from her dad. For simple words, I need to talk. A chill ran down her spine. What could he want? Would it be everything she was dreading? Maya's heart raced again, but this time, it was with a harsher reality. She needed to face it, to confront the truth. What would happen next would shape not just her relationship with her father, but everything else she held dear. She took a shaky breath, and with a sense of grim determination, she texted back, okay. When and where? And just then, the future felt as uncertain as the darkness creeping in around her. Maya stood rooted to the spot, gripping her phone tightly as if the squeezing might somehow ease the weight settling in her chest. The night had shifted, the joy of the dance replaced by the nagging dread of what lay ahead. Every sound around her felt too loud, every whisper of laughter from nearby felt like a taunt. She sank against a wooden bench, her eyes drifting across the school grounds illuminated by soft lights. David sat beside her, his body angled toward her, giving her the space she needed while still offering silent support. He wanted to say something, she could tell. His mouth opened slightly, but he chose to be quiet, processing what was happening. I can do this, she whispered, though doubt laced each word. She felt herself unraveling as the memories of her father's struggles filled her mind. Each argument they had, each promise he broke, each time she had hoped for change only to see him slip back into darkness. Hey, David finally broke the silence, his voice low and steady. You aren't alone in this, you know. We can face it together. Maya nodded but didn't meet his gaze. What could he understand? Her father's world was a storm, and she was afraid of being caught in it, again. Just when she felt she could finally breathe, the shadows of her past threatened to pull her back underneath. The phone buzzed in her hand. A notification. Her heart sank into her stomach when she saw it was a message from her dad again. Meet me at the diner. Instinctively, she replied, in a few. The diner was a familiar place, one filled with memories of pancakes and warm coffee shared on quiet mornings. It felt like an odd choice for a serious conversation. "I'll drive you," David said, standing up and extending his hand to help her up. There was an urgency in his eyes, a desperation to hold her up when she felt like she might fall. Silence enveloped them during the drive. The streets were almost empty, shadows stretching across the pavement under the streetlights. Maya's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts as she watched familiar landmarks pass by, places of laughter that now felt haunted by her worries. When they arrived at the diner, the neon sign flickered softly, gleaming promise and familiarity. As they entered, the smell of coffee and baked goods wrapped around them, but it did little to ease Maya's anxiety. She spotted him at a booth, his back to them. Her stomach twisted. "Just breathe," David murmured, squeezing her hand in reassurance before letting go. Taking a deep breath, she walked toward the booth. Her father turned slightly at the sound of her footsteps and his eyes lit up, but it was quickly replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. "Maya," he said, his voice strained and gravelly. "Hi, Dad," she replied, trying to insert a warmth into her voice, though it felt forced. "Thanks for coming," he trailed off, his gaze drifting to the table as if he were searching for the right words. But Maya wasn't sure she wanted to hear them. What if they were words she had heard too many times before? What if they were promises of change that meant nothing? She pulled in a shaky breath, the flicker of hope starting to extinguish. As she took a seat across from him, she locked her eyes onto his, searching for something, anything that would reassure her. The tremors of fear and doubt competed with a faint glimmer of love, the kind only a daughter could feel for her father. "Why did you want to talk?" she asked finally, feeling the tension expanding between them like a balloon about to burst. That he hesitated, swallowing hard. "I need you to understand that things have been rough." Maya clenched her fists, ready to push his words aside. But then she caught David's eyes, full of encouragement, urging her to stay open, to listen. "Would it do any good?" "Rougher than I thought," her dad continued, his honesty coming out in vulnerable waves. "I need help, Maya. I can't do this alone anymore." Her heart pounded against her rib cage. This was the moment she had awaited, yet it felt different. What was she really willing to sacrifice for this moment? "Help?" she echoed. Her voice barely a whisper, grappling with the weight of the words. "I'm scared," he admitted, his own vulnerability reflected back at her. "And I want to make things right, for you." Maya's heart was breaking, but could she take the leap? Just then, David's hand brushed against her back, grounding her in the moment. "You don't have to decide right now," he said softly, eyes locked onto hers, ready to be her anchor. But as she looked at her father's face, worn, tired, yet still her dad, the uncertainty of their conversation hung palpably in the air. Would she let herself hope for the change he was offering, or would she guard her heart against disappointment once more? With the future feeling uncertain, every heartbeat in the booth seemed to echo louder than the last, and Maya realized she stood on the edge of a choice. Would she step forward or retreat once again? The diner felt alive around them, but Maya felt suspended in time, each second stretched thin, waiting for the next words to spill forth, the ones that might change everything. His eyes dropped, and for a moment, silence filled the booth once more, a thick, suffocating silence. Maya could hear her own breathing, each inhale heavy with uncertainty, each exhale mingled with hope and fear. Her father's hands, calloused and trembling, fidgeted with a packet of sugar. "Maya," he finally looked up, determination flickering in his gaze. "I know I've let you down. It's just. I have to fight this addiction. I want to be better, for both of us." Addiction. The word hung between them like a noose. Maya felt her heart clench. Every time he said he wanted to change, every time he promised, only to fall again. The scars of those moments were fresh, but they were familiar. The memories surged within her, a tide threatening to overwhelm the moment. "I wanted to tell you I'm going to rehab," he continued, glancing around the diner as if the other patrons might overhear. "I want to get help, and I want you to be part of that journey." Maya's fingers twitched on the table, feeling both heavy and weightless all at once. The offer sat before her like a cup too full to hold. Could she really believe him this time? Could she allow herself to picture a life where they would finally move past the darkness? "I want you to believe in me, it's going to be hard," he pressed on, looking at her with an intensity that burned through the haze of uncertainty. "I've never been a good father, and that's my fault. But I want to really try this time." David's presence beside Maya was a gentle reminder that she wasn't alone in this moment. She couldn't ignore the surge of protectiveness that flickered within her, pushing her to shield herself from more pain. Yet, something deeper was stirring too. Perhaps it was anger, or maybe it was the dim spark of hope. "Why now, Dad?" The words slipped out, raw and unfiltered. "What changed?" His gaze faltered momentarily. "I should have done this a long time ago, but it took me hitting rock bottom to realize how much I was losing." The weight of those words settled over her. What would it feel like to hope again? It thrilled and terrified her at the same time. A bead of sweat dripped down her back, and suddenly she felt trapped between wanting to believe him and the fear of repeating the past. "Can I trust you this time?" she asked quietly, vulnerable but resolute. "Can I really believe you mean this? I won't ask for your trust blindly. I will earn it, I swear," he replied, his voice steady although shadows danced behind his eyes. Maya studied him, those familiar features worn yet vulnerable, longing for reconciliation. She wasn't sure if this was the moment for sweeping promises, but she wanted to believe that her dad could become the person he claimed he wanted to be. A soft, encouraging squeeze from David brought her back. Maya took a deep breath, the heartache shifting to something unrecognizable. Maybe it was time to dare, a fragile chance at hope still glittering dimly. Just then, the clatter of dishes broke their intense gaze. A waitress passed by, her smile bright and unfiltered, unaware of the tidal wave of emotion rolling within the booth. "Can I get you both anything?" she asked cheerfully, breaking the tension. Maya's heart fluttered. "No, I'm good, thank you." The bright atmosphere of the diner, the laughter of other customers, spilled warmth into the moment, illuminating the shadows looming in her heart. She realized this wasn't just about her father, it was about her too. "Dad," she said quietly, her heart pounding with each word, "if you're serious about this, I'll support you. But you have to promise to keep fighting. For real this time." He nodded, tears welling in his eyes. "I promise." Maya felt an unfamiliar lightness creeping in, but a small voice in the back of her mind still whispered caution. What if this was yet another false start? Moments stretched on, both of them navigating through the fragile space of a new beginning, but Maya couldn't shake the feeling that they were teetering on the edge of something powerful, something that could either heal or break them entirely. As the waitress walked away, the world outside continued in its usual rhythm, but for Maya, everything felt suspended. The dawn of possibility hovered in the air, but would they truly make it through? Would they find a way back to each other, or would the past continue to haunt their present? The diner felt like a crossroads, and Maya was left staring into the uncertain future ahead, a bittersweet mixture of hope and trepidation swirling within her. And with that, she wondered, was she ready to confront the darkest shadows of her past for the chance of a brighter future? Maya sat across from her father, the lingering scent of coffee now felt almost unbearable. The weight of their conversation settled like lead in her chest. Could they really rebuild something that had been broken so many times before? Each question twisted in her heart, battling with the flicker of hope igniting within her. "Do you really mean it?" she asked again, desire coursing through her veins. "Do you want to change?" "I do, Maya. I want to be your father, the one you deserve," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "I never wanted to disappoint you. No more lies, no more excuses." Maya held on to his gaze, searching for truth. She could see weariness etched across his features, a lifetime of mistakes swirling just below the surface. She remembered every late night spent waiting for him to come home, every tear shed in silence when his promises faded into nothing. But something about this moment felt different. A small spark of sincerity whispered through the air. His eyes shimmered with vulnerability, warmth broke through the frigid walls around her heart. Then let us do this, she said, taking a leap into the unknown. Let us work on it together. His face brightened momentarily, relief flooding his expression. Thank you, Maya. I won't let you down again. At that moment, Maya realized she wasn't just giving her father a chance, she was reclaiming a piece of herself, too. A heavy burden lifted just a fraction, but they were still standing on the brink of a resulting storm. Before she could revel in the moment, David squeezed her hand, grounding her in reality. You're strong, you know that. He whispered softly. You've got this. Opening her eyes, she absorbed his reassuring presence. Leaning in toward David, she whispered, can we face this together? Always, he replied without hesitation, a radiant smile illuminating his face. Maya's heart skipped. They were stronger together, it was as if layers of resilience were weaving them together beyond the judgment, beyond the past. Her resolve deepened, shoring up her courage for what lay ahead. With newfound determination, Maya turned back to her father. Let us create a plan. I'll support you, but you need to want this. Really want it. His clear nod confirmed what she needed to hear. Yes. I'll find a therapist and start going to meetings. I'll make real changes. This felt monumental, a shift that had not only the potential to heal their relationship, but also lift the veil of despair that had shrouded their futures for too long. Maya could feel the first glimmers of hope rippling through her soul, mingling with a sense of possibility, but even as they made tentative plans, a familiar ache formed in her chest. The threat of reality always lingered, beckoning to crush the fragile equilibrium they were trying to build. What happens if? She hesitated, unsure if she should voice her fears. Don't go there, her father interjected, concern flooding his features. Let us take it one day at a time. Maya nodded, letting his words settle like a soothing balm. Okay. One step at a time. As they shifted from heavy conversation to a lighter path, David broke the tension, laughter rippling through their booth. How about we grab some pancakes? If we're planning to fight the world, we might as well fuel up. At first, uncertainty covered their faces like a fog, but soon, laughter erupted, slicing through the looming shadows. David's easy charm began to dissolve the last remnants of dread. Maya felt the warmth of connection, the feelings of friendship mingling with something deeper every time David looked at her. While they shared a small stack of pancakes, Maya felt lighter. Her dad's presence felt renewed, a bridge to the possibilities ahead, a swirl of warmth warming her heart. As laughter erupted, unfamiliar joy encircled them. With every bite, everything she had feared felt more distant. David and her father exchanged stories, a tentative camaraderie blooming over syrup and whipped cream, like the morning sun breaking through clouds after a storm, with the comforting buzz of ordinary life around them. Maya wanted to imagine a future where she would no longer tiptoe around memories and shaped fear. This was a start. Later that night, after the cafe dimmed and the world twinkled outside, David walked her home. The moment felt softer, brighter than before, filled with promises unspoken, yet understood. Thank you for tonight, she said, her voice low and sincere. For being there. I'll always be here, he replied, his expression serious yet warm. Maya smiled, feeling something shift within, a delicate balance restored. Together, they could face the whispers of doubt and judgment. She didn't know what tomorrow held, but she also knew they were no longer alone in their struggles. As they reached her front door, she glanced back at David. So, my dad, my heart, they're alive again. I'm ready to dive in. David looked at her with admiration, quiet strength radiating off him. Then let us embrace everything that comes. Heart pounding, Maya realized this was the moment she longed for, freedom from the chains of fear, a leap into her truth. Let us do this together. With that unspoken resolve, she stepped forward, ready to carve her own destiny. Together, they'd rewrite their story, love, resilience, and courage lighting the path. Life wouldn't be perfect, but with each step, Maya found stability. Love isn't just about a fairy tale, it's about facing those storms head on, hand in hand, hearts entwined. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories unfolding. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Every like counts. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending, we want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. It could be the motivation they've been waiting for. Let us spread the love together.